You probably know One Piece as this really vibrant adventure, right? A story about pirates chasing a dream across this huge ocean.
Yeah, absolutely.
But beneath all that fun, there's this world history that's just, it's so deep, so meticulously put together. It honestly rivals some real-world mythologies.
It really does. It's not just a simple story. It feels more like this intricate tapestry, woven with threads from forgotten ages, ancient prophecies, and just the incredible will of so many characters.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into that, the colossal scope of the One Piece world.
Yep, we'll be pulling insights from the historical timelines fans have pieced together, some really fascinating theories, and of course directly from Eiichiro Oda, the creator.
Our mission really is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge, so you can walk away feeling like you really get the hidden depths of this global phenomenon.
Get ready for some surprising facts, I think, and definitely a few aha moments along the way.
We're going to try and navigate these enigmatic timelines, uncover secrets from a lost century, explore the real deal with some legendary figures.
And even peek behind the curtain a bit at the genius mind of Oda himself.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with time itself. The calendars and eras in One Piece.
Good place to start. The main one we see is the Sea Circle calendar, or Kaien Rei. For a long time, our best guess came from Nami reading Nolan's logbook back in chapter 228.
Right, she said it was C Circle 1120 and mentioned it was 400 years ago. So that kind of anchored things.
It did initially. So based on just that, you might think the pre-time skip story was around, say, 1520.
But One Piece timelines are famously complex. So what helped refine that? Why was Nami's estimate just an estimate?
Great question. She was approximating using 400 years ago, loosely. Later, when Nolan's actual flashback started, it was dated specifically to the year 1122.
Ah, okay, so that shifted things slightly.
Exactly. It refined the pre-time skip setting to the year 1522. That year, 1522, is like, you called it a gravitational anchor earlier, and that's perfect.
Yeah, it pulls everything else into alignment.
Precisely. Knowing that one date lets you map out the whole chronology from way back in the past right up to current events, like the post-time skip era starting in 1524. It's really the key.
So Kaien Rei covers about 1,500 years. But, and this is where it gets really juicy for history buffs, we know stuff happened way before that, like the Alabasta Palace being built 4,000 years ago.
Right, huge gap.
So what fills that massive, like 2,500-year void before the Sea Circle calendar?
That's where the older system comes in, the Tenriki, or the Age of Heaven. Nico Robin mentioned it during the Alabasta arc. She recited a few bits and pieces from that time.
Yeah, I remember that. She mentioned, like, Kahira conquering Alabasta and Tenriki 239, the Taft Temple in Arumalu in 306, some hero named Mamadin in 325.
Exactly. Though it's worth noting, Oda later clarified Robin was kind of improvising there, pulling from different sources, so the absolute reliability is maybe a bit questionable.
Okay, so it's ancient history, fragments, possibly a bit shaky.
Right. And that itself is interesting, isn't it? Imagine your whole world knowing there are centuries of history just missing or unclear.
Yeah, definitely adds to the mystery. But this lost era wasn't empty, right? It had some dark times.
Oh, absolutely. For example, there was the era of slaves. This was sometime before the 600s in the Sea Circle calendar, so over 900 years ago.
It sounds grim.
It was, marked by cruel tyrants just hoarding wealth, immense suffering for enslaved people worldwide. The Tantatares, for instance, we know they were exploited and enslaved by the Don Quixote king in Dressrosa back then.
And this darkness, this exploitation, it leads into something even bigger, right?
It seems to feed directly into maybe the most famous mystery, the Void Century, that notorious 100-year gap in recorded history.
Spanning from roughly Sea Circle 600 to 700, so like 924 to 824 years before the present day in the story.
Exactly. And the crucial thing is, all the records from that century were deliberately erased, a global conspiracy.
But despite that massive effort, bits and pieces survived. We see them in things like the poneglyphs.
Right, those indestructible stone blocks holding the true history.
And maybe paintings in isolated places. Even some beings born back then who are still around.
Precisely. Remnants are there if you know where to look. And central to this erased century was the Great Kingdom, sometimes called the Immense Kingdom.
This super advanced kingdom from around 900 years ago connected lots of countries associated with the D-clan.
Yeah, that's the one. Believed to be linked to the D-Clan, those figures who often carry this inherited will for freedom and change, they're even credited with making the ancient Iron Giant.
And understanding why that kingdom and its history were erased by the world government, that's key to the whole power structure now.
Absolutely. And speaking of power and conspiracies, you can't talk One Piece lore without getting into the ancient weapons.
Right, terrifying stuff. Tools capable of world destruction.
Three of them, tied deeply into that hidden history. First, you've got Pluton.
The battleship, blueprints hidden, passed down. The actual weapon is under Wano, protected by the Kazuki clan.
Correct. Then there's Poseidon. Not really a weapon like Pluton, more of an ability.
The power to command sea kings, the giant sea monsters, held by the mermaid princess Shirahoshi.
Exactly. And we know Joy Boy, 800 years ago, made some promise with Fishman Island involving Poseidon and that giant ark Noah, probably aiming to bring the fishmen to the surface world.
And the third one, Uranus. We've seen glimpses, right? Even an incomplete version powered by Vegapunk's Mother Flame replica.
Yeah, capable of obliterating entire islands in one shot. It just makes you think, like you said before, imagine if the most powerful weapons in our world were tied to lost history. How much does that warp everything?
It's a chilling thought. These ancient suppressed powers still dictating the present. But their history isn't all destruction, is it? It's tied to hope, too.
Definitely. Which brings us to figures like Joy Boy and the truth behind sun god Nika.
Joy Boy, legendary hero 800 years ago. Wore the straw hat, right? The one that's been passed down through Roger, Shanks, and now Luffy. Like 40 people inheriting its will.
Yeah, that iconic hat. And Roger knew way more about the world's secrets than most. He used that phrase, turn the world upside down.
Which Whitebeard also said at the end, gives you chills.
It really does. And now we know Luffy's Gear 5. It's not just a power-up, it's the awakening of the sun god Nika fruit.
Nika, the warrior of liberation,
Yeah.
whose power comes from the will and belief of others.
Exactly. It means Luffy's powers in that form are basically limited only by his imagination, fueled by belief. He becomes this embodiment of freedom.
Okay, so sticking with these godlike figures and hidden rulers, Emu, the secret king of the world. There are some wild theories connecting Emu back to the ancient past, right?
Oh yeah, some really interesting ones. Like, could Ymir be the last actual god from that old age of heaven?
And maybe clash with Nika way back then.
That's a speculation. It kind of fits, doesn't it? Emu's whole mission seems to be destroying Nika's legacy Joy Boy, the Great Kingdom, the Will of D. It's taken like 600 years and they're still fighting it with Luffy.
And the idea that Emu's power, those weird black magic circles, maybe not even a devil fruit.
Exactly. Could be the actual power of an ancient god. It's mind-bending stuff.
Then there's the mention of a sea god in history, supposedly mad about devil fruits, hence the swimming curse.
Right, another layer. People suspect maybe the sea god is Emu, or someone whose power Emu inherited.
So what's the implication for devil fruits then? Were they connected to the Great Kingdom?
That seems to be the strong implication. That the Great Kingdom was maybe deeply associated with devil fruits, which led to their enemies, the ones who formed the world government, labeling them devils.
Wow. Okay, so this ancient conflict, these powerful beings, the suppressed truth, it all culminates in the founding of the world government.
Pretty much. An alliance of 20 kingdoms got together specifically to fight the Great Kingdom.
And after the Void Century ended, 19 of them stayed. Nefertari D-Lily vanished after scattering the poneglyphs.
Right, she's the missing piece. The other 19 kings founded Marahoa, and their descendants became the Celestial Dragons.
The ones who act like gods now. And they created the Empty Throne Pledge.
Total ruse. Publicly, they pledged not to seek power. But secretly, Emu, who seems to have gained eternal youth, somehow took the throne, became the hidden ruler.
And their fear of the D-Clan's ideals, the Great Kingdom's history, that's why they censored everything, wiped the Void Century clean.
That's the core of it, fear of those ideals. And it's interesting how places like Eni's Lobby seem built over a massive hole, maybe left by an ancient weapon.
And Water 7 slowly sinking. Possibly linked to whatever happened back then, too.
Yeah, these geographical scars are like constant reminders of that hidden, violent past.
And those echoes just keep reverberating, like the God Valley incident about 38 years ago, right?
Oh yeah, one of the most chaotic, significant events in more recent history.
Sheer anarchy, wasn't it? The Rocks pirates versus Roger's crew and the Marines led by Garp. What made it so legendary?
Well, at the center was Rox D's Debek, captain of the Rocks Pirates, his goal, to become king of the world.
And people argue he might have been the single strongest person ever in the story.
There's a very strong case for it, even Roger and Garp teaming up. It's implied neither could take him down alone. He was just that powerful.
And then the world government just erased the island, God Valley, wiped it off the map.
Completely. Either a Buster called that massive, indiscriminate marine assault, or maybe even Uranus, the ancient weapon. We don't know for sure how.
But the result is nobody even knows the island existed.
They-
Ask anyone today about God Valley. Blank stares. That level of information control is terrifying.
It really shows their power. And the fallout was immense. Rox was defeated, his crew scattered.
And three of them, Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard, went on to become Emperors of the Sea.
Exactly. Reshaped the whole world order. Garp got his Hero of the Marines title, but refused Admiral, didn't want to be directly under the nobles.
And Roger's crew, they found baby Shanks in the treasure they looted. Wild.
Absolutely wild. Took him in, raised him. Just shows how interconnected everything is.
Okay, moving closer to the present. Marineford. About 2 years before the current timeline. Huge war. Whitebeard pirates versus Marines over Ace's execution.
A massive turning point. And it really highlighted the shifting ideas of justice within the Marines.
Particularly with Admiral Kuzan, Aokiji. He was getting disillusioned.
Increasingly so. Events like O'Hara, Annie's Lobby, and then Marineford. His view of absolute justice was really diverging from Sakazuki's Akainu's.
Sakazuki. His philosophy was pretty harsh. Evil is genetic. Kids of criminals are inherently bad.
Yeah, a view that lined up perfectly with the world noble's beliefs about bloodlines and purity. His actions at Marineford taking on Whitebeard, killing Ace, definitely made him the frontrunner for Fleet Admiral.
But Kuzan was Sengoku's pick, right? He objected to Sakazuki taking over.
He did, which led to that insane 10-day duel on Punk Hazard. Sakazuki won, Kuzan was defeated.
And then he resigned and joined Blackbeard. That was a shocker.
Huge shock. But Blackbeard mentioned an alignment of interests. Both seemed to want to destroy the world government, which Kuzan apparently saw as beyond saving. Remember Blackbeard talking about sinking this island, Marineford itself?
Okay, let's shift focus slightly to Luffy himself, and this whole idea of inherited will. It's always surprising when you realize his pre-time skip journey was actually really short.
It is. Only about 3 months, February to May in 1522. Confirmed in the manga and Oda's Vivre card databooks, those official encyclopedias.
Yeah, it seems impossible with everything that happened. But okay, quick detail. Luffy says he's 17 at the start, but his birthday's in May. If he started in February, he'd be 16.
Right. Seems like a contradiction. But it makes sense with the older Japanese birthday system they seem to use in-world. Everyone turns a year older on New Year's Day.
Ah, so it simplifies age tracking for the story. Neat.
Exactly. Keeps everyone aging consistently with the calendar year.
And this inherited will concept.
Yeah.
It's more than just a theme, isn't it? It feels like an actual power source for Luffy.
It really does seem that way. His victories are so often fueled by the collective belief, the will of others around him.
Can you give some examples? Like, how does that work in practice?
Sure. Think about Alabasta. You could argue the real MVP wasn't just Luffy, but Toto. Remember him? The old guy in the Yuba Oasis, digging relentlessly for water.
Yeah, just kept digging, even found a tiny bit.
Exactly. He symbolized the heart, the unbending will of the nation. And Odo implies that small act of defiance, that will, directly helped Luffy find the strength to beat Crocodile. Without Toto, Alabasta might have actually fallen.
Wow. Okay, I never thought of it quite like that. What about Skypiea?
Skypiea is a great example, too. 3 groups really made Luffy's victory possible. You had Cricket, Nolan's descendant, providing the drive, the reason to ring the bell.
Honoring his ancestors' promise.
Right. Then the Shandia tribe provided the actual gold, the history, and the Skypians built the arc needed to reach the giant beanstalk and the bell. Luffy beating Enel was almost secondary to his main goal. Ringing that bell for Cricket below. It was a collective effort fueled by generations of will.
And Thriller Bark is maybe the most literal example.
Absolutely. Nightmare Luffy. That wasn't just Luffy getting stronger. It was 100 shadows representing Moria's victims literally inserted into him.
So he gained their power, skills, knowledge, directly fueled by their desire for liberation.
Precisely. And Moria, trying to absorb 1,000 shadows himself, showed the same principal will as a transferable power source. It's fascinating how belief becomes tangible.
And the architect behind all this,
Yeah.
this whole incredible world, Akira Hodo. What do we know about his inspirations, his process?
Well, his big influences are pretty well known. Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball, which basically set the mold for battle manga, And apparently an old anime called Vicky the Viking sparked his interest in
He
pirates.
started super young, right?
Yeah.
Assistant at Shonen Jump at 17.
Yeah, and his one shot
Okay.
won second place in the Tezuka Award that same year, kicked things off early.
And his work ethic is just
Yeah,
legendary.
completely insane, often working from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. the next day, short breaks, and he insists on drawing everything that moves himself.
To keep the look consistent.
Exactly. He leaves backgrounds to his staff, but based on his detailed sketches, it's incredible dedication.
Does he plan everything meticulously? Or is it more organic?
He says his story sort of emerges from asking his characters, okay, what are you doing this week? But he also stresses having a story behind every single illustration. So, a mix, maybe. Planned, but responsive.
He's also talked about consistency being harder now, with adult readers scrutinizing everything.
Yeah, he acknowledged that Shonen Jump, the magazine where One Piece runs, used to be just for kids, but now older fans notice inconsistencies more. He sees making One Piece consistent as a challenge he's taken on, but not necessarily a rule all manga creators have to follow.
That level of commitment to internal consistency in such a sprawling world, it's hard to wrap your head around. Few real historians manage that for actual history.
And it's really something else.
Hmm.
And speaking of Oda's choices, he deliberately avoids romance among the Straw Hats.
Right, he said it's a shonen manga for boys, and they aren't interested in love stories, sticking to the genre.
Pretty much. And that kind of unpredictability, his specific vision, it makes fan theories often way off base. It's the folly of predicting fictional pirates, as some call it.
Oh yeah, remember that Westbound Edition theory from way back in 2005?
Vaguely, yeah.
What was that one again?
It predicted the whole series would end around March 2010, chapter 576. We know now that was barely the halfway point.
Wow, seriously off.
Totally. It had all these specific predictions for arcs, a pirate summit, Luffy fighting Doflamingo and Whitebeard back to back. Mostly wrong.
But did it get anything right? Sometimes those old theories have kernels of truth.
Actually, yeah. It did foresee Shanks being a rival for the One Piece and the idea of 4 major groups clashing at the end. It even invented a final villain named Dragon, who had traits kind of similar to Rocksteady's Beck.
Huh. So, wrong in the details, but maybe caught some of the underlying currents, shows how engaged the fans are, trying to piece it together.
Definitely. But despite fans guessing wrong, Oda is a master of foreshadowing. Like hints about Joy Boy and Nika. You can trace those back to Scapia years earlier. Incredible long-term planning is genuinely impressive.
And on a lighter note, his hobbies. Grilling meat and collecting American celebrity figures.
Yeah, kind of a fun contrast to the guy creating this epic world-spanning saga.
All this dedication, this world building, it's obviously led to One Piece being a massive cultural phenomenon.
Huge. It's gone way beyond just manga and anime. It influences real culture. You mentioned Bengkulu City in Indonesia, people imitating styles, Luffy's never give up attitude, fashion.
Yeah, it connects. And it's a good reminder about the word anime, right?
Mhm.
In Japan, it's any animation. Outside Japan, it means Japanese animation specifically.
Exactly. And One Piece is a prime example of that globally recognized Japanese animation. Its appeal is just enduring, compelling story, the puzzles, the mysteries. It sticks with you.
And you see it everywhere. Theme park attractions at Universal Studios, Japan and Hollywood, the Tokyo One Piece Tower, themed restaurants like the Barati.
Even ice skating shows. One Piece on ice. It's wild.
Plus, the sales are just astronomical. Best-selling manga in Japan, obviously, but huge in places like Italy, Germany, too.
Critics love it too. They praise the art style cartoonish but timeless, the balance of action, humor, serious themes, and especially the world building. It's not just about fights.
And it's still going strong. A new Netflix remake anime series is coming, plus the live-action series. Its cultural relevance isn't fading.
Not at all. It really makes you wonder, what is it about this one story that captures imaginations across so many languages and cultures?
It's pretty amazing. So we've journeyed through thousands of years of One Piece history today. Forgotten ages, conspiracies, epic conflicts, the creator's craft.
Yeah, we've seen how these centuries-old promises, these inherited wills, these grand ambitions are still playing out, still shaping the present day in the story.
And thinking about that core theme, inherited will, how belief itself can literally become power, change history in one piece. It leads to a final thought.
Right. Given that scale, how individual and collective belief shapes that world, how might our own collective beliefs influence the real-world stories unfolding around us?
What, Nika, are we maybe unknowingly powering with our own convictions? What kind of dawn are we helping bring about? Maybe just by believing in something.